Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much. I was just having a chat with our speaker Sarah today, and we're really really so happy and feel so fortunate to have the support of everybody, the support of you guys who are here. And before we start, and if you've been in one of our events, if let's practice the functionalities of of this profile. Hi Vivek, hi Rob. See you guys there. Now let's practice this profile. So this is IRMS IMTech's first event for the year. Hi Mike. And the way we start this, as you know, is um, in a very British fashion. There you go. Shona got it already. I Shona is on it. So hi Vivek. So tell us where you are and what the weather is like. I am joining you today from Aberdeen, and it's cold. I think you see from this one. And Sara Fennah, who's one of our AVP. There you go.
Well,
Dundee, Dundee. Yeah, Sarah.
I'm in Yorkshire, and it's nah. That's the weather forecast from Yorkshire. Nah. Although Jason says he's sunny in North Yorkshire. You're in a
I
different bit
know.
of
I
North
see a
Yorkshire
lot.
to me, Jason. But
Geneva
it's
is sunny.
yeah.
Catherine.
Well, I'm in Harrogate, and it's not so sunny over here, I can promise you. But I'm nice and warm because, as I was saying, we've just had some work done on our central heating, and it's running full blast. So much so that I'm almost considering opening a window.
Bill, you joined us from Glasgow. It's always lovely there. Who positive? I was gonna say. Um, oh, really grateful for those who've joined us from Canada, from Switzerland, from everywhere. That's really grateful to you guys. You're always there, continuing to support us. What's the importance of this first event that we have for the year? As you know, we've run a lot of Microsoft 365 events that we're hoping the information will always keep you up to date. This platform is continuously improving, continuously transforming, continuously, changing in terms of its functionalities that we always need to keep ahead of it. If not keep ahead of it, at least know what the platform is offering right now. That's the reason why MVPs like Sarah, quite important, quite critical, just to get that information up to date with us. We've worked very closely with Microsoft, and the major updates come out every 6 months or so. And this is the reason why this is quite important. So this is our first update um, event for the year with Sarah, and soon I will hand over to her. Let me just do the logistics we have. So what we always get asked for is this going to be recorded? Yes, we are currently recording it right now. What happens is once we finish the event, you will get an automated email with the link to the recording. Now, with regards to materials that Sarah has very generously shared with us, during our towards the end, I will start sharing uh, those material that PDF with you guys. So right now, I'm handing over to Sarah so we can focus on the informative presentation that she's prepared for us. Sarah?
Thank you. I'll just bring up my shared screen. There we go. So, as you all know, I'm going to be talking about the recent changes and upcoming features. So Maria and I first discussed doing this in October last year when Ignite came out. But lots of exciting things have happened then, so I'll take you through all of those. As you can see, and as Maria has introduced, my name is Sara Fennah. I'm a Microsoft 365 trainer, Microsoft certified, and a Microsoft Most Valuable Professional MVP, which basically means I spend some of my free time talking to people like you on these events. I'm occasionally allowed to sleep as well, not very often though. I do absolutely love it. I might complain, but I do love it. If you want to get in touch with me and know more about my background, please do follow that link to Linktree or look me up on social media. You'll find me all over the place. So in terms of how I keep up to date, well, this is my this is my source of information. So starting with the admin center with the Microsoft 365 messages, I also avidly read the Microsoft 365 roadmap. I know it's quite sad, but I check it every morning over my cornflakes. I use the tech community blogs, most of which I subscribe to using RSS feeds and Power Automate, so I don't have to go and look at it. It lands in my Teams, in a Teams channel ready for me to consume. The documentation that Microsoft publishes now on Microsoft Learn, and that is all very useful. Paul can only see the chat. I'm assuming, hopefully you can make your window a bit bigger and solve that. Anyone else having issues, do let me know. The Microsoft News website, news.microsoft.com, is also incredibly useful. And immediately following a conference, we have the Microsoft Book of News for particular conferences as well. That's also very helpful. Now, I also run a webinar very similar to the content from that to this webinar for Leadership Through Data. And what we do is every quarter we go through and look at what's changed on the roadmap. So I've got some statistics for you here from the catch-up webinar we did in January. So these statistics were taken on the 8th of January. At that point in time, there were 1,418 items on the Microsoft 365 roadmap. Okay. Of those, 1,188 were for what we call the worldwide cloud. So specific updates do relate to government cloud, which is a US only environment, and we also have the education specific updates as well. So I've excluded those from my statistics. So between October and January, so between October 22 and January 2023, 206 new items were added to the roadmap, 140 were launched, and as at the 8th of January, 297 items were in development, ready for the for launch by March 23. Of those, some have already rolled out. Okay, I would say probably about 100 of those are now actually rolling out as we speak. And if you look at where those updates are coming, where's the effort going? There's still a huge amount of effort going into Teams. I mean, this started back in March, April 2020, and we all know what happened then. But that's when we started seeing those huge innovations in Microsoft Teams, huge number. There's still a big amount around the Office applications, quite low this time, that last quarter, on compliance, purview and information protection and security as well was next to none. But there is a lot more coming in that space, and I'm sure some of you caught the announcement yesterday, and if you didn't, I've got a very quick summary for you towards the end. Okay. Yes, Exchange does need probably some more attention, but there's lots coming around Exchange as well. There's quite a lot on the roadmap, so do watch out for that. So I pulled together a list of, and don't worry, I don't expect you to read this. I pulled together a list of the topics to show which I think are the most interesting. So this is the list of topics I've pulled together to go through. I'm on slide 7 of 52, so I am going to speak fast, but if you have questions, do post them in the chat, and we'll address them as we go through. And if I can't address them all in the meeting, I will capture them and come back to them. Okay. So this is the topics I'm going to go through. So let's have a look at Outlook first of all. So cloud signatures is finally fully rolled out. If you update your signature in Outlook for the web or Outlook for desktop and you've got the cloud settings enabled, then your signatures will follow you between desktop and web. Unfortunately, not yet mobile, but it will come. I'm going to show you loop components in a minute. Those have been in Teams chat for a little while. We can now use them in Outlook email, and that will roll out into channels. It's coming to Office applications and also into Whiteboard as well. Loop components is going to be a big feature going forward, something we'll see. Message reactions, we can now react to messages in Outlook, only Outlook for the web. So have a quick look at that, and contact deduplication as well. So loop components you can use in Outlook web, Outlook desktop. You can also use from the drop down in the Outlook desktop there and insert it into your email. They only work with internals at the moment. Okay. But I can copy and paste my loop components between emails and chat as well. So let me just give you a really quick little video of working with a loop component. So I've got two different users here side by side, and you can see as the user on the left is updating the loop component, it's flowing through live in the right hand side. So you can see those. Now, these loop components are stored as fluid files in the mailbox, in the OneDrive of the user who creates them, and then shared from there. So that's why I have sharing options on that screen as well. So you can see that I've got the ability to share the loop component there with other people. Okay. You can react to a message the way you can to a Teams message. This is only in Outlook for the web, and it's kind of invisible. I find it really a little bit challenging to see the benefit of it because I don't get any notification that someone's reacted to a message. So I think it's a great idea. You can read the button there. Contact deduplication is absolutely fantastic. If I've got multiple people in my contacts, then Outlook for the web will automatically spot that and compress and merge them, offer to merge them for you. This is absolutely brilliant. I've had it popping up for several of my contacts, and it's working really, really well. Okay, so if you use Outlook for your contacts, do go and have a look at that. Yeah. Okay. Scrolling on the wrong thing. Sorry. So in Microsoft Teams, obviously the big thing. Oh, Peter's saying that the reactions has rolled out into the desktop client as well. Yay. Excellent. So in Microsoft Teams, we've got the Teams Premium, which was in preview and actually on the 1st of February now went to GA, and I've got some summary of that for you coming up. We can now use a pop-out when we're scheduling meetings. We've got unread email, unread notifications in the got unread notifications filter in the message pane. We've got expanded reactions, can share and collaborate on Excel files live in a meeting, delay delivery or schedule send of messages, deleting of chat, and please don't panic from a retention perspective. That has not changed. Compliance copies are still kept. And we have meeting experience enhancements on desktop and web. Okay, so Teams Premium is an add-on license at an additional cost, and it's really introducing advanced features around meeting customization, meeting protection, meeting AI, so analyzing the meeting automatically, webinars and virtual appointments where we're meeting with customers, consumers, face-to-face via Teams, because we don't do in-person anymore, do we? So the thing about Teams Premium is who needs the license. That's the catch. And these little icons on these slides show whether the feature is unlocked in the meeting if the meeting organizer is licensed, the multiple people icon, or if the individual needs to be licensed to see that feature. So if we're using a branded meeting lobby, it's the meeting organizer that needs the license. Everyone gets the branded lobby. If we're using custom backgrounds and together mode scenes that we're pushing out to our users, we can only push them out to users who are Teams Premium licensed. The same if we bundle policies together into a policy package or give them templates for meetings on the new button. Okay, just because we're pushing out organizational backgrounds doesn't mean we can't still set our own backgrounds within the Teams app as an individual, unless, of course, your organization has blocked that because that's policy controlled. The Content Delivery Network, the ECDN, that is enabled by the meeting organizer having the Teams Premium license, but, okay, it's worthwhile noting that this is one of those features that Microsoft say you should have sufficient licenses for everyone who benefits from the feature. So even though it only needs one person license to unlock it, everyone obtaining the stream of the meeting over the content delivery network should also have the ECDN license. You can license ECDN separately to Teams Premium, 50 pence per user per month. That'll save you enough on bandwidth that if you're using it, it's not a big implication, but it's worthwhile noting. The meeting protection and security features that we're getting are pretty much all unlocked by virtue of the meeting organizer having the Teams Premium license. And this includes end-to-end encryption, controls as to who can record the meeting, blocking, copy and paste from the meeting chat, setting a sensitivity label on the meeting to protect not only the meeting itself, but also meeting assets shared in the meeting. Okay, the sensitivity label one, though, does require the user organizing the meeting to also be licensed with an E5 license or an advanced compliance add-on. So you've got to have Teams Premium and E5 to use sensitivity labels in meetings. We've got more information in the monitoring of meetings run by users who are licensed with Teams Premium, helpful for troubleshooting. And meeting templates can only be used by individuals who are licensed for Teams Premium, but they apply to the meetings they organize, and therefore the settings are carried forward. Okay, and that includes things like assigning a watermark to the meeting to protect the content that's been shared with a screenshot. And all of these options, these meeting protection and security features, are all set through the meeting options. Okay, so we have additional options unlocked by virtue of having Teams Premium assigned. So the AI features, a lot of these are not yet available, even though Teams Premium has gone GA, has been fully released. These are not yet assigned, okay, not yet available. And I'll come back to Siobhan's question in a second. So translation in live captions is unlocked by the meeting organizer having Teams Premium. So if you've got an international audience, as long as the meeting organizer has Teams Premium, the captions can be translated. Okay, we've got translation of the transcript coming soon, and I don't know how that's going to be licensed, whether it'll be unlocked by the meeting organizer or the individual viewing the transcript. Auto-generated chapters. We get chapters from a PowerPoint Live being shared, but other activity will generate chapters as well. The meeting join and leave markers for the individual, that is starting to roll out and is licensed by the individual. At mentions, so where someone says your name in a meeting, that will give you a marker on the recording so you can jump to those points. That will require the individual. And the most attractive one, the auto-generated tasks. So if Sarah says, please look into this, Fred will get a task assigned to him to look into this. Hopefully I will be more specific when I ask Fred to look into something and explain it a bit more. Otherwise, that auto-generated task is not going to be very helpful. Now, if I just go back a slide, Siobhan did ask a question with regard to the sensitivity labels on the meeting. Can they be applied using an auto label policy? Not really. What we would do is we would link it to a meeting template. So when I go to the new button to pick the type of meeting I'm creating, I would say that I am creating an internal meeting. Automatically, when we set up the template for an internal meeting, not automatically, but we would assign the internal meeting sensitivity label to that templated meeting, so it has the right settings. So every time people pick that type of meeting as to what they're creating from the templates, it assigns that sensitivity label. We can lock that sensitivity label on the meeting so that the user can't then remove it. And that controls all of the other settings like locking down the chat, etc., etc. So on the template, not using an auto labeling policy. You can also set a default sensitivity label for meetings for channel meetings, which is inherited from the sensitivity label applied to the team. So there's various options there. As to the date on that auto-generated tasks, I'm guessing, okay, I don't know anything, but I'm guessing we're talking probably July. Okay, July to September would be my guess. I might be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I'm hoping it's May, but I'm thinking it's going to be later in the year. Webinars, we have extra options such as a green room, managing what the attendees can see. So basically taking over from Teams live events, but in the Teams webinar features. So lots of those, and those are unlocked for the meeting organizer. So if you're organizing a webinar, then you have the advanced webinar features. And if you're running appointments with customers via Microsoft Teams, the virtual visits functionality or virtual appointments, there are additional features that are unlocked by Teams Premium here. And again, it's down to the organizer who is creating the visit appointments, which unlock these features. Okay, there's a lot more on these in the blog that I've written, doing a whole series, and that's linked in the reference material that Maria mentioned, which we will share with you. On to things that are available for everyone. If you create a new meeting, you get a pop-out. I love this. The number of times I go to pop out a meeting, I go to create a meeting in Teams and can't remember what date I was setting it for and need to consult my calendar and end up having to open another calendar and another app. Saves me hours, this already. If I'm creating a new, creating a webinar, the webinar option, notice the icon has changed slightly on the new meeting button, but we get this new multi-tabbed webinar setup experience where the dates match when we create it in here compared to the registration page, which as a tiny change itself is really excellent. But the way we can put the bios up, the look and feel of the pages, being able to set limitations on how many people register, all standard features, those are really helpful. The unread toggle on the activity feed, yeah, I'm sure it's going to save all of us a lot of time. Expanded reactions, it's worthwhile pointing out these do include some work inappropriate reactions, but I'm really happy to see Mr. Clippy. I mean, I know Clippy isn't necessarily an appropriate reaction to a chat message, but it gets used a lot by me because I do like him. Sorry. The 100 is really good as well. Total agreement. Yeah, there's some that are absolutely excellent and some that are maybe less work appropriate. We've also got Excel Live. Now I'm highlighting this because we need to be aware that when you share an Excel file into a meeting using this Excel Live functionality, it allows everyone to interact with the file within the meeting window. So yes, I've been able to all open an Excel file and work on it together, but you're jumping between Teams and Excel, Teams and Excel. Now it's one window, but it does mean everyone has access to that file. Okay, even externals during the meeting. Okay. When we share it, it shares that middle part of the screen. Okay, and it doesn't share the ribbon. So Kerry said it's nice for online training in Excel. Yes, it is, but it doesn't share the ribbon, so people can't see what you're doing on the ribbon as you're going through and picking the options. So I'm probably still going to be sharing my screen when I'm doing Excel training personally, but it's a, yeah, it's a good one. Scheduled send. You know, if you're sending an email, you can schedule it. If you're working in Excel for the web, there's a little drop down arrow on your send button, so you can pick the scheduled send from there. Top tip, by the way, scheduled send on an email, always send it from the web. It sends even when you're offline. Okay, scheduled send from the desktop, hit and miss. Scheduled send from Teams also works when you're offline. You don't have to be logged into Teams, but there's no drop down arrow on the send button. You have to right click on it to pick your date and time to send the message. Okay, it's especially useful if you're working with parts of the world where they have legislation around messaging outside of working hours, such as Portugal. Deleting the chat. Okay. If a user does not want to see a chat conversation in their Teams window, they can now delete the whole conversation. This deletes their copy of the conversation, only their copy. Other people involved in the conversation still have that copy of the chat. And if someone sends a new message in that chat, then they can send, then they see a new message pop up, but not the history that went with it. The exception here is you can't delete a meeting chat if you are the meeting organizer. A compliance copy is still retained according to any retention scheduling and retention policies that you have configured in your tenant. This is a user visibility issue. Now, if they want to remove it from their list but not totally delete it, then they can hide the chat instead. Okay. We have a question of how you access the Excel Live. So it's just on that share button, just on the standard. Let me see if I can zoom it for you. Yeah, just on the standard share button in your Teams meeting. As you come down, you have your PowerPoint Live, and then you have your Excel Live option instead there. So it works selecting the files in the same way as the PowerPoint Live, but instead it's picking Excel Live. You may have also noticed that the meeting toolbar has changed. We've got categories in our meeting toolbar now instead of that very long menu. I'm going to be perfectly honest, I prefer the long menu. However, I do love the fact that they've separated out the raise hands button. I can press the right icon on my controller. So raise hands is separated from react now up at the top there. There we go, it's a bit clearer. And also the web interface is the same. Yay! Okay, the share button is exactly the same. This toolbar this menu isn't visible all the time. I've just clicked on the more button when I've taken the screenshot. So that's all there still. Okay. Around security compliance and information protection, so Defender and Purview, I'll come back to the announcement yesterday towards the end, but in here we've got data loss prevention policies, DLP, now the condition support and not or in the system. It used to be just and. We can do and not, or change it to or instead. Okay. DLP conditions now also support trainable classifier, and in Content Explorer and alerts, for some of your DLP alerts, we can actually give feedback if it's a false match. Okay, so we can do that from the admin console via the Content Explorer and via alerts. It depends on the type of alert, but that's a really helpful improvement. Okay. We can also manually apply a sensitivity label in Acrobat. If you use Adobe Acrobat to edit your PDFs, it does take a little bit of setting up, but there's a link in the handout about how we do it. I'll come back to the disposition limits, and also I think it's great for those of us who have too many digital identities that we can now use passwordless. If you've got an iPhone and Microsoft Authenticator across multiple accounts. So DLP enhancements. On the yellow banner there, you can see that we've got those additional options on what is triggering the DLP. I love the fact that we got sensitivity labels in there and retention labels and trainable classifiers. Now, I always encourage users to start with the sensitivity label because I can auto apply my retention label based on the sensitivity label. And now I can run my DLP from that as well. So I think that's a really good place to start. And sensitivity labels are so easy to apply with it being baked into the toolbar within the products, within Word, Excel, and PowerPoint, wherever you're working. So I think that's really helpful. The right-hand side of this slide gives me an overview of how I can give feedback. So if it's matched here, a credit card number, and I'm looking in the Content Explorer, all the credit card number matches, I can now pick up and provide feedback on the matches. Unfortunately, I picked one. The only one that was showing up in my tenant with the feedback at the time I took the screenshot didn't have any matches. So unfortunately, it's not the best screenshot, but there we go. Okay. Sensitivity labels in Acrobat, so we can implement those native sensitivity labels. There's a great article from Nikki Chappell, who's also an MVP, around that she's done around this, so that's really helpful as well. So the limits on disposition. There is no longer a 1 million item limit per label that requires disposition review. Okay, disposition approval. Okay, so there is no longer that 1,000 item, 1 million item limit. I knew I should have written it in words. The total tenant limit of 16 million items pending or disposed of still remains. The 5-year limit of items showing up in the disposition interface still remains. And the audit log limit with the standard audit log is 90 days, with the premium audit log unlocked by E5 is 1 year, and you can increase that up to 10 years with an additional audit log license. Those haven't changed. So the one that's changed is the limit per label. However, the Power Automate custom actions at the end of retention period has now gone live as of today. Yay! It's been in preview for a while, but it's gone into general availability today. And this, I think, is much more flexible and also doesn't hit those limits, because if we're using Power Automate to run through approval for deletion and generate a certificate of destruction and write information into a log, then we don't hit those limits. So that is something to explore to see if that is more suitable for your organization than the standard disposition process in Microsoft 365. As I say, passwordless sign-in, yes. The other reason I've pulled this up, it's not just because I have far too many Microsoft 365 accounts that I have to sign into, but it's also because Microsoft are going to be enabling by default this number matching in the logon. So when I try to log on to a service going forward, if I'm using multi-factor authentication with the Authenticator app on iPhone or Android, then we will have to input a number in order to approve the MFA challenge. This MFA challenge box can also show you the app that you're signing into and the location. Those are optional that your admin needs to switch on. And I will just point out the location, not great. I'm sat here in Harrogate and I get a location near Birmingham. That's mainly because of how I'm working from home, how my home internet routes my connection. So it's pretty much always in the same country. I've not had it in the wrong country yet. But it is something to make your users aware of if you're switching that location on. It's not precise. If I'm putting the number in and the number matches what I'm seeing on screen to the number I put in there, then it's safe to do so. Okay. SharePoint, Stream, Viva, and OneDrive. Try saying that any faster. We're getting sensitivity labels showing up in the sharing dialog box. The activity column in OneDrive to help us understand sharing of files from our OneDrive. The ability to search the transcript in Stream, again, a feature that was in Classic Stream is coming to Stream on SharePoint. And that's even more important because we have a final retirement date for Stream Classic of the 15th of February 24. Now, those of you who've been on a training course with me before or spoken to me about sharing will know that I've got a little bit of a bee in my bonnet, as the saying goes, about how users use this sharing dialog box. And what many users don't realize, when they hit share, they are changing the permissions on the file. And coming from a SharePoint background, I loathe item level permissions on a file. And that's what this box does. So I really, really, really want users to read this box. And I think Microsoft have tried hard to encourage us to read it. Hopefully we'll get the message out eventually. But I think including this sensitivity label at the top of the box can help users make a sensible choice, as long as they know to make a choice. And if you are an admin, I would strongly suggest that you set the default sharing to specific people can view. So if users don't read the box, they're sharing it with the least damaging permissions. Okay. So in this case, in this picture, the sensitivity label is set as a default in the tenant, but the sensitivity label could be auto applied to the content based on sensitive information within the document. We can set a default sensitivity label for individual document libraries as well, but it's not going to pick it up by virtue of the fact I'm sharing. It's what label has been applied to the file through one of those automatic steps or manually by the user. But it's just a reminder at the point of sharing to handle this content appropriately. The activity column in OneDrive, reminding you that you shared these files, that other people have accessed it, that other people have changed it. Again, it's not going to change behavior, but it just makes us more aware of what we're doing. The search in Stream on SharePoint. Yes, this is a very, very tiny little meeting, but it means I wasn't sharing anything sensitive. So I recorded a little dummy meeting to capture this image. Other interesting things you can see on this slide is the expiry date of the meeting. So the expiry is based on the policy set in Teams, but is overridden if you have retention policies in place based on where this recording is stored. This was a private meeting scheduled from my calendar. That's what I mean by a private meeting. And therefore it's recorded in the OneDrive of the user who records it. In this case, me. I organized it, I met with myself, and I recorded it. All me, it's all my own fault. But the recordings go into the OneDrive, so it's the retention policies governing the OneDrive that would override that. And I can see where it's stored because it's stored in my folder, documents, recordings. We also have the video settings. We can where we can set transcript, set it to auto-generate the transcript, create chapters, etc. All in there. So a lot more of those features starting to come through. And because it's basically a file in OneDrive, the share box as well, which will also pick up the default sensitivity label if you've pushed one out to this user. Okay. As I say, Stream Classic is set for a final day of service in February 2024. That means you will not be able to add new videos to Stream Classic from that day. There will be a period where you can migrate, but the recommendation is to migrate content from Stream Classic into SharePoint before that date. If you are a SharePoint administrator, there is a migration tool to help you do that. Okay, in the SharePoint Admin Center. And I promise you, it's a super easy process. Works really well. And at the end of the day, I think I've had one video that didn't migrate. 5 minutes later, it was downloaded and re-uploaded into SharePoint. Done. Okay, but that was a really unusual case with lots of custom permissions on the OneStream video when it was stored in a channel that, anyway, very confusing situation. Otherwise, it all works well. How are we doing on time? 38 slides of 52. We're doing it. We're getting there. Haven't lost too many of you yet either.
No, we've added more people, Sarah. So
Excellent.
perfect. Thank you. And continue the questions. We'll continue with those as well.
Yeah. We've got someone new joined with their mute microphone open. There we go. Okay, so Microsoft Viva. You may have noticed that your briefing email has disappeared temporarily. It is coming back. It is due to come back sometime this month, and a new improved version might slip into March, I'm hearing, but it is coming back. Personally, I really miss it, but I'm finding I'm spending more time in the Viva Insights app in Teams instead. We've got quiet time settings that have rolled out into Viva Insights in Teams, so you can mute all of your notifications across all your mobile devices, across Teams and Outlook in one go. We've got scheduled send recommendations that are rolling out to Outlook as well. We've got effective meeting insights, which tells me if I'm doing too much MVP stuff and not enough paid work, which is always a good balance to strike. But also helps you understand if you're joining your meetings on time, if you're multitasking, etc., etc. So that's quite useful. Topics is now supported across Microsoft Yammer, so Viva Topics supported in Yammer Chat and also Teams messages as well. The focus mode with a focus timer and some nice relaxing background music, and muting, most importantly, muting all your notifications while you're in focus mode, as well as blocking out content in your diary, as blocking out time in your diary as well. And then we've also got the ability to create learning paths in Viva Learning. I'm going to come back. We've got a question about retention on recordings. I'll come back to that at the end. Please remind me, Maria, once I finish Microsoft Viva. Okay, so a lot of these features are actually requiring a premium Viva license. Now, when we say premium, Microsoft split Viva functionality into what they call seeded and premium. Seeded is the functionality that is part of the Office 365 and Microsoft 365 plans, and premium is where you need the Viva license, either for the individual product, say Viva Learning, or for the whole of the Viva suite. Okay. This diagram here is a really good breakdown of the individual features and which license they need to unlock them. And when Maria uploads the handout for you, there is a link to this. It's on the Microsoft Viva pricing page. In fact, if you search for Microsoft Viva, you'll come to the Microsoft Viva page and there's a pricing link at the top there. And this comparison is on that page. Okay. That briefing email, as I mentioned, is coming back with lots of enhancements, your ability to favorite and snooze the different topics within there, and also choose the time of day that that is going to come and land in your inbox. This setting is available through the Viva Insights app inside Microsoft Teams, or through Viva Insights from your app launcher in the office.com homepage. Okay. And there is more coming for Viva Insights, but it's very exciting. And we'll have to wait and see. Okay, moving on. Also, we have quiet time settings, again, through the Viva Insights app in Teams or through the Viva app in the web browser. Go up to the cog icon at the top right-hand corner, always in the top right-hand corner, and pick settings, and then you can configure your quiet time settings and mute notifications across all your devices. I tried muting mine at 7 p.m. I couldn't quite manage it, but they do now mute at 10 p.m. So if you're trying to catch me, you're not going to catch me after 10 p.m. unless I happen to be sat at my computer, but I'm not getting mobile notifications. I'm getting better. Did I say I really loved my job? Kind of addicted. In scheduled send recommendations in Outlook, you may notice this banner across the top. Let me just zoom in on that for you. This banner across the top suggesting that you schedule the send of the email later, with a link on there to adjust the sending schedule or more information. And you can see that more information down the right hand side in that pane that's come open. So as I say, lots of really useful features coming through. The Meeting Insights also allows us to send a survey after our meetings in Teams to colleagues, not to customers. It doesn't go externally, to see how effective the meetings were that you organise. And again, all that is managed through the Viva Insights app. I've not pulled those slides into here, but they are in the handout. So let's go back and deal with that question that Gary asked about the recordings. So I was talking about the expiry date. Okay. And I said that if you've got a retention policy, that still overrides that expiry. So I've got my meeting expiry set to the maximum it can be. Okay. If there was a retention policy applied to my OneDrive, for example, delete all files once they're 12 months old, that would also apply to this recording. Now, we can't currently set retention policies directly for specific file types, which is why I like the ability to set them based on a sensitivity label. But yes, if you had a delete only policy on OneDrive, it doesn't matter what that expiry is, the retention policy takes precedence. Okay. If I'm deleting it after a year, but the expiry is 60 days, then it's going to be deleted based on the 60 days expiry, because the delete only retention policy is after 12 months. If it's retained for 12 months, then delete with an expiry of 60 days, then it's going to be retained for 12 months. Retention policy takes precedence. Okay. And yes, we can still use content types and set default retention labels on content types if you've implemented content types in your tenant, definitely. Generally, across Office 365, we've got improvements to search. And yes, I know there was a big announcement yesterday about Bing and AI, and that will flow through into Microsoft 365 as well, especially as you can integrate your Microsoft 365 environment with the Bing search engine. So that AI chat functionality will come in for you as well. Let me just maximize that window. There we go. We can also now use app mentions for assigning tasks in Word and Excel. We've been able to do this in Word for a little while. You make a comment in Word, you can app mention somebody, and it sends them an email to us and assigns them a task effectively, because if you receive an email with an app mention in, it automatically becomes a task in Outlook and Microsoft To Do. It's a very useful tip. People don't pick up on something, you app mention them in an email, we can find, we get on their to-do list automatically. But if we make a comment on a Word or an Excel document, that sends them an email with the app mention in and gives them a link to the appropriate part of the document that we wanted them to look at. So not only do we rather brutally remind them that we want them to do something, but we also helpfully give them the nice, easy link to get to what we've asked them to do. So you can look at it in two ways. Okay, currently only Excel and Word. It will come to PowerPoint as well in due course. And these are the modern comments, not the old traditional comments that we now call notes. There is also a new dashboard if you're a Microsoft 365 admin. When you go to health, you have the health dashboard, which is just a summary page of what's going on in Microsoft 365. Okay. And I completely agree, Kevin. It would be lovely if those app mentions would go into a Teams chat message instead of an email. Believe me, it's been mentioned once or twice. The search enhancements, there's a couple of things. If you haven't yet seen the fact that you can go and do a search in Microsoft 365 and refine it down to messages, then please do have a look at that. It It is incredibly useful, but what you're also now seeing is the attachment icon. Let me zoom in. Oh. There we go. So that attachment icon is now also showing up, and we can filter for files with attachments, okay, in our search results. But what I love about this messages is my Teams messages and my Outlook messages. The number of messages I get, and I can't remember if it was a chat, a channel message, or an email. So I just go to office.com homepage, search for what I'm looking for, look in messages, and it finds all of them. Plus, if I click on a Teams message, it doesn't just open that one message, it takes me to the whole conversation thread. Yes, thank you. It's just so much easier to then carry on working with what you were looking for. The reason I was looking for it is to do something with it. So that makes it so much easier. I personally also use Bing as my home page. And I use Bing as my home page for a number of different reasons. And let me just show you. Just double checking there's nothing showing up on here that's confidential before I pull it across. So this is my home page. I've got my search engine up at the top, so I can search the web, but it also searches my Microsoft 365 environment. I've got my appointments, I've got my tasks, SharePoint sites, recent files, everything all in one. And it's reminding me about emails I normally answer quite quickly. So that's all built into one. And if I do a search in here, so let's do that search for a quick reference guide. Yeah. And I go to my work results, then I have those different options here. It's finding all my files, or I can go and look at messages and filter it down. Now, if I go to the office.com homepage and do my search from there, that same search, that's the screenshot I gave you when I was looking at the messages. Now, obviously, I'm not going to pull up that on screen here. There's a reason I've grayed out half of those messages, because they do contain confidential information. But I just wanted you to see how that integration is really helpful. Okay. And this does include list items. It does include SharePoint news pages. It includes learning materials posted into Viva Learning. It also searches Power BI dashboards as well. It recognizes what text in images. So if I search for images and there's text in the image, it's searching for that as well. Honestly, search has become so powerful that it's really an incredibly useful tool. I will admit, as Kevin says, that partial matching can still be a little bit of a challenge. So if you're trying to match part of a phrase, do put stars, the wildcard, around what you're looking for. A star at the beginning is anything before the term I'm putting in, and a star after is any characters after. And also, standard kind of search terminology, a plus to add a term, a phrase in speech marks, because if you put a space between it, it means or. Standard search techniques for all web browsers also apply here as well. So there are techniques we can use to make life a little bit easier for us. But yeah, I'll give you the partial matching could be improved. Okay, right. As with everything, I wrote this presentation and then Microsoft made some announcements. They do call the cloud evergreen. I call it just constantly changing. There's a reason I look at the Microsoft 365 roadmap while I'm having my breakfast and read the Microsoft 365 Message Center as well. Other people read the news. I read the Microsoft 365 news, but I've already admitted I'm addicted. So yesterday, Microsoft ran a Purview event where they introduced a feature called adaptive protection. Now, adaptive protection is basically integrating data loss prevention with insider risk management. So based on the insider risk management risk detections, we can apply different retention, different DLP policies to users. So users who don't trigger that insider risk policy might get a DLP policy assigned that gives them a tooltip. As users maybe, for example, this is the data theft by departing users insider risk policy that has been selected here. So if it looks like users are starting to share lots of content, or they're admins who have privileged access, or there's lots of little things happening, their risk level is going to increase. And therefore, a different DLP policy can be selected and applied to the sharing activity that they're undertaking. I've only seen the blog post on this, and I've given, and I'll give you actually, because I didn't put it in the handout because I'd already sent Maria the handout when I did this, but I'll give you a link to the learn material, the guidance on how to implement that in the in your tenant. Now, insider risk is an E5 licensed product, so you will need to be licensed for E5 to do that. But as I say, that is quite an interesting integration, and I'm wondering where it'll go next. There's lots of options as where we can go with this.
That's right. How are we doing, Sarah?
I have 2 more slides.
Perfect. And then we could dive.
You may have also seen a lot on the news about Bing now being AI powered. This is integrating that chat functionality that have been brought about as well. I actually miscounted. I have 4, but they're really, really quick ones. Okay, so that's quite exciting. As I say, I've been running these workshops, and I think Sharon shared the link earlier. If you go to the Leadership Through Data site, there's a link for webinars. You can sign up for those. Sorry, my Outlook box has gone incredibly weird. What I'm hoping to look at next time are things like working hours and locations in Outlook, obviously a bit more on Teams Premium as it's fully released, scoping sensitivity labels to client applications, those sorts of things. So a different label for PowerPoint presentations and Excel documents. That sounds like it'd be really useful. There's a lot more coming with Microsoft Syntex, including backups and more granular permissions as well. Unfortunately, Syntex is going to be an add-on to SharePoint and an additional license. Absolutely tons of stuff coming from Microsoft Viva. and lots in Office 365. Yeah, Viva Premium, Teams Premium, Syntex. Unfortunately, these are all add-ons even to an E5 license. Microsoft do seem to go through a bit of a cycle. They give us lots of add-ons, then they give us another level of licensing to kind of integrate them all in, and then they start developing more new stuff. And that seems to be the way it's worked over the life of Office 365 since it launched in 2011. There we go. Phew. 52 slides in just over an hour. So there you go. Questions?
Yes, we're going to questions as I upload, as I try to upload the notes and changes.
Yeah, if there's any issues with the file uploading, I will, at the beginning, I did share with you my Linktree account, my Linktree link, there it is back at the beginning. If there's any issues with uploading it, I'll add a share of the file onto that for you if people are struggling to get hold of it. Okay, so there we go.
I think that share has already...
Yeah, that's shared on screen at the moment.
Okay, so that is there, but it's not attached. Okay, it's not what we intended to do. Let us close that one. And what we'll do is, if you need the presentation, can you either contact Sara or myself? Because I seem to have lost that capability to upload.
Yeah, I'll just pop that link to my Linktree in the chat, and over the next day or so, hopefully in the next hour after this meeting, I'll get that uploaded to that, so you can find it on there.
Questions? It's from Melissa. Have we gone through that already?
No, Melissa's just saying, for those people who can't see the chat, that she was on a call with Microsoft a few weeks ago where they talked about new cool stuff and explained that premium is just that, it is premium, and it's more expensive. Yeah, we all have our own views on that, but it is what it is. We can't change Microsoft's way of doing things, unfortunately. I'm interested in Kevin's comments about a fix to the accessibility of sensitivity labels. What do you mean by the accessibility?
Kevin, if you could unmute, we'd love to hear your voice.
While we're waiting. Well, Kevin's trying to find his mute button.
We've got Gary as well. Does this schedule send work?
Does the schedule send work in a Teams team or just individual? Currently only individual chat, not in a Teams team. Yeah. So the scheduled send of a Teams message is there. Molly, you're blocked from using the link. It's one of the reasons I've used the Linktree link. It's actually really quite short. It's so if I just pull that slide back up again, that is honestly the easiest way to get hold of me, is using that. It's got my social media contacts on. It's the easiest way to get hold of me.
I think Kevin has just...
Kevin's there.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
We can.
Right. Yeah. When you apply the sensitivity label to a Word document, it adds whatever label you've chosen into the top right corner. If you then run the accessibility checker on that document, just a blank document, you'll get 3 errors because it's been placed incorrectly in the document. So it's the default way that Microsoft to put in the label in the document will then trigger an error on every single document you create where you run the accessibility checker.
So is that a label that's adding header, footer, watermark, or just without any marking in the document?
It's just adding the label into the header, but it adds it. It doesn't add it in line. It adds it in a way that is inaccessible, which is a daft thing for Microsoft to do, to add it that way. But and I just wondered if you've heard any rumors about someone trying to fix it.
We could feed that back, Sarah, isn't it?
Yeah,
that is something. Yeah,
I put some feedback on the sites of it in various places, but it's a difficult one to know who's actually going to fix it.
I know a couple of people to talk to see to try and get it moving. But yeah, I'll have a look at that, and I will definitely pick that up.
Because all you have to do to fix it is Microsoft. It offers you a fix and says, "Do this," you know, and the little drop down that says, "Do this, do this." You just do that 3 times and it's fixed.
Yes, but that's probably affecting 3 product integrations.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the accessibility, the compliance team, and
exactly.
the office team. I think that's probably the reason why. But within how we work with Microsoft, that is something that will definitely feedback to Microsoft, because there are other things that we've picked up on this chat as well. That's why we love this types of organizations. Now, guys, before we say goodbye to everyone and before we go on to the other questions, of course, this is the first IRMS event for this year, and we'd like to invite everybody to check out IRMS as well. Join us, join our community. It's a great community to be in, and get your updates on this one. So today we're having that overview of Microsoft 365 from Sarah. On February 22nd, I will announce it very soon, we are having a very specific update from Microsoft on the data lifecycle management and the records management specific functionalities of Microsoft with Erica Telly. And Sarah, you did say on your next update, which I will get back to you on, on the next semester of updates, we will have Sarah back. Of course, we will. It's a very very informative session. Did we miss a question, guys? Please. Yes, it is incredibly. Thank you, Jason. It is quite an informative one.
I think we got to all of them.
I think we've got to all of them already.
But okay, please do let us know if we didn't.
Yes, please do. I think Sarah has already sent her details. And yeah. So, and then we will be inviting Sarah soon as well, after, before we start the next trimester of development and updates on the 365 platform, Sarah. Isn't it?
Once Microsoft confirm their conferences where they're going to do all the big announcements.
Yeah, that's right. We'll see how that goes. And thank you. Anything more, guys? Everybody happy with all that stuff? Yeah, I think we are giving back a few minutes to everybody, and thank you very much. And we hope to see you at our other webinars as well, where some of you have logged on. Thank you very much, Sarah. You promised to come back.
I promise to come back, yes.
Please. Thank you so much.
Thank
you. Have a lovely afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you have joined us in the world. Thank you very much. And this is IRMS, I Am Tech. This is Maria Lim. I'm the I Am Tech Chair and Technology Partners with IRMS. Have a lovely afternoon, guys. Bye.